Hey guys, it's Lauren with Girl Scouts Louisiana East, and today we're going to be showing you how to make face masks. So this is what we're going to be making today. So we are making the ones with the tie straps, so it'll go over your face and it'll tie around your head. These are a little bit easier because they are very adjustable, so they fit a lot of different people. So you can make them with the elastic, so rather than having the tie straps, you just tack a little piece of elastic on either side and that would go around the loop. So this is what we have seen people are needing. So this is what we're gonna make today. So make sure before you go try to make these that the hospital that you wanna donate them to or nursing home or wherever can accept them. So this mask specifically is made out of 4 layers of fabric. So we wanna make sure that we're making something that's usable and not just something that's, not going to be worth anything. So what we're going to do is you're going to get a yard of fabric. So this is one of the pieces of fabric that comes from Walmart. So super easy to get. It's 1 yard. It's a few dollars. And you'll cut this. This will actually make 6 masks. So the amount of fabric that we have here, the 1 yard. So I'll show you how I cut mine to get my 6 masks and make the most use of my fabric. So I've got my little sketch here. It's a little rough, but this is what I did to be able to measure it out. So I have 12 pieces of fabric that I was able to cut, and it is 6, that'll make 6 different masks. So I will show you then what we did. So you will get pieces of fabric that look like this. They are 8 inches by 14 inches, and you will need 2 of those to make a mask. So I've got my 2 pieces of fabric here, and I am going to put them together facing the same direction. So I've got my 1 sheet and my second, and I'm going to match them up and make sure that they are even. And then I'm going to fold them together with the right sides facing together. So the wrong side will face out, just like so. All right. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew this seam, and I'm going to leave like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we will get going. So what I'm doing is just sewing this quick seam, and then after this, you're actually going to press. You're going to flip this inside out, and you're going to press it. So you see my seam here along the top. So then I'm going to take and flip this inside out. So that way we have the right side of the fabric facing out so that we can do the rest of our stitches. So you see you've kind of got like a little sleeve. So then you're going to take this to your iron, and I've already done this on the one we're going to continue on, but you're going to take your iron, you're going to press this seam and then this seam. So this is just a crease, but you're going to make sure to press both of those so that we have a nice even piece of fabric to work with. So we're going to put that to the side for now, and this is the piece that I'm going to work on. So they have tons of cute different patterns at Walmart. You can choose any, just make sure to be safe when you're buying them. You can also order them off of Amazon. So Amazon is still delivering products as long as they have them in their warehouse. So next I'm going to take my ruler. And so it should measure about 6.5 inches. So let's see. There's mine. Match it up, and it's at about 6.5 inches. A little bit more, a little bit less, depending on the thickness of your fabric and such. So I'm going to take this, and so since this fabric is black, I'm going to use a white marker to make my mark. So this is a paint pen. So we are going to mark your fabric from your bottom seam. We're going to mark it at 1.5 inches. So we're going to mark right here. And then we're going to go up 1 inch and mark there, up 1 more inch and mark there, and then up 1.5 inches. So it'll be at 5 inches and mark there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. and I'll be able to show you what that looks like. So up 1 inch, 1.5 inches, then up 1 inch, up 1 more inch, and then up 1.5 inches. So your marks will be at 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and 5. So you can kind of see my little dots. So I've got one right here, one right here, one right here, and then one up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin my fabric. So I'm going to take a pin at each of my little marks and go in and out so that way I can use that as a placeholder. So I'm going to do that real quick here so that way you guys can see it. And like I said, make sure that the hospital or nursing home or whatever facility you want to donate these to is accepting them before you just make them, because we don't want to be making something for no reason. These are also good for just personal protection. So if you're having to go to the store, I wear mine every time I go into the store just because there's no need to take chances. So, all right. So you can see that I have my fabric pins. So at 1.5 inches, 2.5, 3.5, and 5. So you can see my pins here in the fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold at this first pin. I'm going to take my second pin and fold it down. So you can see this pleat that I'm making. So I'm going to fold it down. And then I'm going to take one of my pins, and I'm going to turn it around so I can see it. I'm going to take one of my pins that's there. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to pin that pleat. So you want to have your pleats. Those are those little, creases in the mask. You're going to pin them. So that's what that first one looks like. You guys can see it. So I'm going to do that for each of them, and then I will also show you on a lighter fabric what it looks like while I do this. So you're going to make 3 different pleats, and you're going to then sew over these. So I am going to finish this up. So you're going to sew one side and then the other. That's what makes it the easiest. And I've actually gotten used to just being able to kind of pull the fabric for the second side of pleats to make it match. So if you see on this one, I've got my first pleat, my second pleat, and my third pleat. So just like that. So I can show you that on this fabric. It's a little bit easier to see. So you've got your first pleat, second pleat, and third pleat. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to sew along this edge right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now on my machine here. And you don't necessarily have to have a sewing machine to do this. It will take a little bit more time and patience, but you don't have to have a sewing machine to be able to make a face mask. You can do it without it. You can do it by hand. And there's also some no-sew options available as well. So I'm taking my pins out, and then you can see my pleats have been sewn. So I just sewed right across there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my fabric. Oops, I'll have one more pin in there. I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to just pull it to be the same length on the other side. So I'm just going to match what I did on the first side and make my pleats on the second, pin them again, and keep going. So I'm going to put my 3 pleats in, and I'll show you what that looks like. It's a little bit easier than having to remark and repin, just because sometimes your marks may not line up exactly. We're not perfect, so it's a little bit easier for me to not have to pin those, or to not have to try to match exactly where my marks were. So I just hold it, pull it down, hold it, and pin it. And I've made a few of these, so I'm a little bit quicker than I was when I started, but that's totally okay. It takes time and practice. So you can see now I've got my other side pinned. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch down that side real quick. So you can use different colors of fabric. You can match different things. It's totally up to you, whatever colors you use. All right, so I'm going to take my pins out again. And usually once I've done this, I will press this a little bit just to give myself a little bit of an easier place to work from. But this is what it looks like. One of my pleats was a little small, which is okay because whenever it's on your face, the pleats are spread out. So this is what it'll look like. Again, this is a little bit easier to see on a different color fabric, but it will open up like that, and then it can fold back down flat. So this is what it looks like once you've had both sides sewn down. And then the next thing that we're going to use is our seam binding tape. So this is what it'll look like when you buy it. So it's in this package. You can get this from Walmart, super simple. It's bias tape. So you want to get the extra wide double fold. And I'm going to tell you why, because if you get this, it'll be a lot easier. You won't have to iron it down and re-iron it, because that's what I had to do here. So these pieces that I made, they are 36 inches. So 36 inches is, you'll get 3 strips out of one pack. So this piece was actually an extra wide double fold. That's just what they had in this color that I wanted. So I went back and made it what I needed. So being resourceful, using my resources wisely. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. It'll have, this is the double fold part. So it's folded twice. So once here, gives you here, and then we'll fold it again, and that will be how it goes on our mask. So what you're going to do is you're going to take it, you're going to bring it down, and you're going to find the other end, and you are going to take it in the middle and crease it with your fingers, just enough to where you can see where that's going to be, where that crease is. So you'll open it back up, and you can kind of see where my little crease is in there. I'm going to take that crease, and I'm going to put it on my middle pleat. So I'm going to line that up. You guys can see. I'm going to line that up with my middle pleat on my mask. So there's a lot of different tutorials out there, and they'll say a lot of different ways to do this. My personal preference is to go ahead and pin this and sew just the mask and the bias tape right here, or the seam binding tape, so that way you're not fighting it the whole time, going down the whole length of the seam binding tape. So I'm going to take one of my pins. I'm just going to make a little pin right here, just so it's not going to slip. So I'm going to make one and one more down here at the bottom, just so that while I'm going down it, it doesn't slip off or anything. And I'm going to hold it on too, just to make, positive sure. So we'll have it pinned just like that. And then we are going to sew down this little strip. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get it done. Like I said, one more time, please make sure that whatever you're making is going to be able to be used. A lot of the different tutorials only say to use 2 layers of fabric, but the hospitals need 4, excuse me. So make sure you're making what is going to be able to be used. So I'm going to sew down this piece right here real quick, just to have it to where it will stay while we are working with our long stitch down here of the seam binding. So got my pins out, and you can see I just have it stitched to where this is on, because you want at least 2 stitches where it's holding, where the tape is holding onto the mask, because otherwise it'll come off. And there's a lot of stress on this, and you don't want to have to worry about that. So I am going to then take the edge of my seam binding, and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to pin this down so that way it makes a nice clean edge. And then I'm going to fold it back together and actually use a pin to keep it closed. So taking a pin, going in and out of that. So we want to make sure that we have a nice clean edge on both of our sides. So my other side, I am going to just go ahead and hold down and put under my presser foot and use that to hold. So you're going to start, so you see this is my open edge. So I'm going to start on my clutch, and I'm going to stitch at this corner and come down the top of this and then go down the length of the tape. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and that's going to take just a moment. But what I'm going to actually use my presser foot and pick it up and turn it so that way I don't have to start a new line. So I'm just going to pick it up, pivot, and put my presser foot back down. And then I'm going to go down the whole length of that seam binding, or that bias tape. So this is a great way to protect yourself. Obviously, still use all of the protective measures that the CDC recommends. We want to stay as safe as possible so that we can get back to normalcy as quickly as possible. The faster we do this, the faster we'll be able to get back into enjoying all of our regularly planned activities. So, and if you guys ever have any questions about making these masks or anything, please reach out and we'd be glad to help, because we want everybody to have all the tools that they need to succeed. So we're going to go down, and I'm almost getting to my pin, so I'm going to hold that while it goes over my corner, just because that pin makes it kind of bulky. One more little line here. All right. So now you see what it looks like when we've got one done. So it's going to go from the top there all the way down the side, and then it's going to meet at the mask. And I'm going to trim all these little hairs off and go all the way down your mask and come all the way back down to this end, like that. So when it is all said and done, you will have a mask that looks like this. So pretty simple, doesn't take a whole lot of time. Like I said, practice makes perfect. So the more you do, the easier it'll get. But so it'll open up and you'll be able to put it on and tie it around your head. So make sure to wear them. Don't just make them and then not use them. Make sure to use them whenever you're going out if you have to go out. If not, stay inside and stay safe. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask and we will answer as soon as we can. So everybody stay safe. Have a great day. Bye.